The war had been going on for 15 years, and humanity was losing. Victoria Chen stood in the command bunker deep beneath New Alexandria, watching the tactical display with tired eyes. She was 42 years old, but the war had aged her more than time ever could. Her short black hair had streaks of gray now, and the lines around her eyes told stories of too many battles and too many losses. Behind her, 2 other women studied the same display with equally grim expressions. General Amara Okonkwo was 38, tall and strong with dark skin and eyes that seemed to burn with constant fire. She had grown up in the African Federation and learned to fight in places where resources were scarce and enemies were everywhere. She specialized in making the impossible possible, in winning fights that no one else could win. General Sofia Volkov was 45, the oldest of the 3. She had blonde hair pulled back in a tight bun and the kind of face that gave nothing away. She was a master of getting inside the enemy's head, of knowing what they would do before they did it. She had once been a professor of psychology before the war. Now she used that knowledge to break enemy commanders without firing a single shot. Together, these 3 women had become humanity's greatest hope against the Calixian Galactic Empire. The Calixians were an old race, powerful and cruel. Their empire stretched across 3,000 star systems. They had technology that humanity could barely understand, and ships that numbered in the millions. They had been conquering worlds for 10,000 years, and they saw humans as nothing, more than another primitive species to crush under their boots. But humanity had something the Calixians didn't expect. Humanity had these 3 women. The evacuation is 70% complete, Sophia said, her voice calm despite the explosions that shook dust from the ceiling. We need another 6 hours. Victoria nodded. Then we give them 6 hours. The Calixian fleet is in orbit, Amara pointed out. She was leaning against the wall, arms crossed, looking like she wanted to go up there and fight them hand to hand. They've got 300 warships up there, we've got 20. Then we make those 20 count, Victoria replied. They all knew. The truth, though none of them said it out loud. New Alexandria was going to fall. The Calixian Empire had sent a full battle fleet to take it, and there was no way to stop them. The only question was how many civilians they could save before the end came. For the next 5 hours, the 3 generals did what they did best. Victoria coordinated the defense, moving their small fleet like pieces on a chessboard, always staying 1 step ahead of the Calixian admiral. Amara led ground teams that hit the enemy in ways they never saw coming, using the city itself as a weapon. Sophia fed false information to the Calixians, making them think humanity's forces were 3 times larger than they really were, and it worked. The civilians got on the transport ships. The ships jumped to hyperspace, heading to safe zones deeper in human territory. Old people, children, families, all of them escaping while the 3 generals bought them time with blood and cunning. But someone betrayed them. His name was Marcus Webb, and he had been a junior officer in Victoria's command. The Calixians had captured his family 2 years ago. They had sent him messages, shown him pictures of his wife and daughters in prison camps. They had promised that if he helped them, his family would live. So when the Calixian Special Forces needed to know where the 3 generals would be, Marcus Webb told them. The attack came at dawn. Calixian shock troops dropped right on top of the command bunker, cutting through the guards with plasma weapons that turned steel into smoke. Victoria's hand went to her sidearm, but Amara grabbed her wrist. No, Amara said quietly. Our people are still evacuating. If we fight here, they'll bomb the launch sites. Victoria understood. She nodded and raised her hands. Sophia did the same. They let themselves be taken. The Calixian commander who captured them was a tall creature with gray skin and too many eyes. He looked at the 3 women with something like satisfaction. The great human generals, he said in perfect English. The Empress will be pleased. They were put in chains made of some kind of energy field that burned the skin if you struggled against it. They were loaded onto a Calixian ship and taken away from New Alexandria, away from the battle, away from their people. As the ship jumped to hyperspace, Victoria looked at her 2 friends. Amara was staring at the wall, jaw clenched. Sophia was perfectly calm, as if she had expected this all along. "It's going to be okay," Victoria said softly. Sophia looked at her and smiled slightly. "I know. The trip to the Calixian throne world. It took 3 days. During that time, the 3 generals were kept in separate cells and given just enough food to stay alive. They were not tortured, not yet. The Calixians wanted them healthy for what came next. When they arrived at Calixa Prime, the heart of the Empire, they were taken to the Great Court. It was a massive building that could hold 1 million beings, and today it was packed with representatives from hundreds of alien species. The trial of the human generals was going to be the biggest event in decades. The 3 women were brought out in chains and made to stand in the center of the court. Above them, on a throne made of black crystal, sat Empress Zalthara. She was enormous, nearly 3 meters tall, with purple skin and a crown that seemed to be made of living light. She had ruled the Calixian Empire for 200 years, and she had crushed 1,000 rebellions. "The humans called you their champions," the Empress said, her voice booming through the court. "They put their faith in you. They believed you could save them from us." Victoria met the Empress's gaze and said nothing. "You have killed millions of my people," Zalthara continued. "You have destroyed hundreds of my ships. You have defied the natural order of the galaxy, which is that the strong rule and the weak submit." "The natural order," Sophia said, speaking for the first time, "is that those who think they can't be beaten always are eventually." There was a murmur through the court. No one spoke to the Empress like that. Zalthara smiled, showing teeth like knives. "Brave words from a dead woman. That is what you are now, dead women walking. I have decided that execution is the only suitable punishment for your crimes against the Empire." More murmurs, but these were approving. The alien species represented here were mostly aligned with or afraid of the Calixian Empire. They wanted to see humanity's heroes fall. "You will be shot by a firing squad," the Empress announced. "Your deaths will be broadcast across every world in the galaxy. When your people see you die, they will know that resistance is futile. They will submit or they will be destroyed." The trial lasted 6 hours, but everyone knew it was just a show. The verdict had been decided before the 3 generals ever walked into the court. They were found guilty of war crimes, terrorism, and rebellion against the lawful authority of the Empire. The sentence was death. They were given 1 night before the execution. In their cell, the 3 women sat together for the last time. Guards watched them through cameras, but they were allowed to talk. "I have a daughter," Amara said quietly. "She's 12 now. I haven't seen her in 5 years. She'll understand," Victoria said. "She'll know you died fighting for her future." "I have no one," Sophia admitted. "My family was gone before the war started, but I have you 2. That's enough." They were quiet for a moment. Then Victoria smiled, a strange expression on her face. "Do you remember Project Lazarus?" Amara frowned. "The experimental program? The one they shut down because it was too dangerous?" "They didn't shut it down," Sophia said softly. "They just made it classified, very classified." Victoria nodded. "I talked to them before we got captured, before we knew about the bunker attack, but when we knew we were running out of time." "Talk to who?" Amara asked. "The scientists running Lazarus," Victoria said. "They've made progress, real progress. The procedure works now, but it requires specific conditions." Sophia leaned forward. "How specific?" "The subject has to die first," Victoria said. "Or come as close to death as possible. The body has to be pushed to the absolute limit. That's when the modifications can integrate. That's when it works." Amara understood first. Her eyes widened. "You're saying—" "I'm saying we volunteered," Victoria said. "All 3 of us. Signed the papers 2 months ago. If we died in battle, our bodies would go to Lazarus. They would try to bring us back." "And if we were executed?" Sophia asked. "Then we'd be even better candidates," Victoria said. "Controlled conditions, medical team standing by. The Calixians will hand our bodies over to human authorities for burial. That's standard protocol." They'll never see it coming, Amara whispered. No, Victoria agreed. They won't. They talked through the night, making plans for what would come after. If it worked. If they came back. If they became what Lazarus promised they could become. As dawn approached, Sophia said, "We'll be different, changed. We won't be the same people who go into the ground." Good, Amara said. The people we are now couldn't win this war. Maybe the people we become can. Victoria looked at her two friends. See you on the other side. They were taken from the cell at sunrise. The execution ground was in the center of the capital city, where millions of Calixians could watch in person, and billions more could watch on screens across the galaxy. 3 posts had been set up. The 3 women were tied to them, facing the firing squad. Empress Zalthara stood on a platform where everyone could see her. "Let this be a lesson," she announced. "This is what happens to those who defy the Empire. This is what happens to heroes. They die like everyone else." The firing squad raised their weapons. 12 Calixian soldiers, their plasma rifles humming, with deadly energy. Victoria looked at Amara, then at Sophia. She smiled. Not a smile of fear, but one of anticipation, of knowing something the rest of the galaxy didn't know. "Fire," the Empress commanded. The plasma bolts hit them all at once. The pain was incredible, beyond anything they had ever felt. Victoria's last thought before darkness took her was that they had better be right about this. They had better come back. The galaxy watched as the 3 greatest human generals died. Their bodies slumped against the posts. Medical scanners confirmed they were dead. Their hearts had stopped. Their brains showed no activity. The Empress looked satisfied. "Remove the bodies. Send them back to human space as a warning. The war is over." The bodies were placed in sealed containers and loaded onto a diplomatic ship. The ship jumped to hyperspace, heading toward the border of human territory. Inside those containers, medical nanites that had been injected months ago were beginning to activate, drawn to the energy signatures of neural tissue. They began the slow, impossible work of repair and transformation. Back on Calixa Prime, the Empress addressed the galaxy. "Humanity's champions are dead. Their resistance is broken. Submit now, or share their fate." But in human space, in secret bases hidden across a dozen worlds, something else was happening. Families were mourning. Soldiers were crying. But they were also getting angry. The execution had not broken humanity's spirit. It had ignited something darker and more dangerous. They had killed humanity's heroes. Now humanity would show them what that really meant. On the diplomatic ship in the sealed containers, Victoria Chen's heart started beating again. It was slow at first, then faster. Her eyes opened in the darkness, but they were different now. They glowed faintly with blue light. Her body was repairing itself, but the repairs were changing her into something more than human. In the next container, Amara Okonkwo's hand twitched. Nanites were rebuilding her nervous system, making it faster, stronger, better. Her muscles were being enhanced at the cellular level. She was becoming a weapon. In the third container, Sophia Volkov's brain was lighting up with new neural pathways. The nanites were creating connections that no human had ever had before, giving her the ability to process information at impossible speeds, to interface with computers directly through thought alone. The ship carrying the bodies arrived at a human medical station 3 days later. The containers were taken to a secret facility on Earth's moon, to the laboratory where Project Lazarus had been waiting for exactly this moment. The scientists opened the containers expecting corpses. Instead, they found the 3 women beginning to wake up, their bodies glowing with the energy of their transformations. "It worked," one scientist whispered in awe. "They actually came back." But these were not the same women who had been executed. The old generals were gone. In their place were something new, something the Calixian Empire had never faced before. They were hungry for revenge, hungry for justice, hungry to show the galaxy that humanity did not break. They were humanity's ghosts, returned from death itself. And they were ready to teach the Empire what terror really meant, The nightmare the Calixians had created was waking up, and it was very, very hungry. Victoria Chen woke up screaming. The pain was everywhere. Every nerve in her body felt like it was on fire. She tried to move, but her muscles wouldn't respond properly. Everything was wrong. Her body didn't feel like her body anymore. "Easy, General. Don't try to move yet." The voice came from somewhere above her. A doctor's voice, calm and professional. "The integration process is still ongoing." Integration process. The words slowly made sense through the fog of pain. Project Lazarus. She had died. Or come close enough to death that it didn't matter. Now the nanites were rebuilding her, changing her, making her into something new. She forced her eyes open. The room was too bright. No, wait. It wasn't too bright. She could just see more than before. She could see wavelengths of light that human eyes weren't supposed to see. Infrared, ultraviolet, the heat signatures of the medical equipment around her, the electromagnetic fields from the computers. "What's happening to me?" Her voice sounded strange in her own ears. Clearer. Like she could hear harmonics she had never noticed before. "You're becoming operational," the doctor said. Dr. Sarah Chen, Victoria's distant cousin, one of the lead scientists on Project Lazarus. "Your enhanced systems are coming online. It will take a few days for you to adjust." The others? General Okonkwo woke up 2 hours ago. General Volkov is still in deep integration, but her vital signs are strong. "You all made it, Victoria. You all came back." Victoria closed her eyes and focused on her body. She could feel things she had never felt before. The nanites in her bloodstream, millions of them, working like a second immune system. The neural implants at the base of her skull, connecting her brain to a computer network she could sense but not yet fully access. Her muscles felt denser, stronger, coiled with potential energy. She tried to sit up. This time her body responded, faster than she expected. She moved too quickly and nearly fell off the medical bed. Dr. Chen caught her. "Careful. Your reaction time is about 50 times faster than it used to be. Your brain will adjust, but you need to relearn basic movements." 50 times faster. Victoria looked at her hands. They looked the same as before, maybe a little paler from the time in the medical pod. But she knew they weren't the same. Nothing was the same anymore. "How long has it been?" she asked. 3 weeks since the execution. 2 weeks since we began the revival process. 1 week since your heart started beating again. 3 weeks. The war had continued for 3 weeks without them, without anyone knowing they were alive. "What's happening out there?" With the war, Dr. Chen's expression darkened. The Calixians pressed their advantage. They expected humanity to collapse after they killed you three. Instead, she paused. Instead, humanity got angry. Really angry. Every colony, every ship, every soldier is fighting like they have nothing left to lose. The Calixians have taken some territory, but they're paying for every inch in blood. Victoria felt something stir inside her. Not quite emotion, but something close to it. The nanites were affecting her brain chemistry, she realized, making her feel things more intensely. Right now, what she felt was satisfaction mixed with rage. "Good," she said. "Let them pay." She heard footsteps behind her and turned. Amara Okonkwo walked into the medical bay, and Victoria almost didn't recognize her. She looked the same on the surface, but she moved differently, like a predator. Each step was perfectly balanced, perfectly controlled. Her eyes swept the room constantly, assessing, calculating threat levels. "You're awake," Amara said. She smiled, but it was not the warm smile Victoria remembered. It was sharper now, more dangerous. "How do you feel?" "Like I died and came back." "Wrong," Victoria admitted. "Not wrong," Amara said. She held up her hand and flexed it. Her fingers moved so fast they blurred. "Different. Better. I ran a combat simulation this morning. Put me against 10 opponents in close quarters. Killed them all in 43 seconds. Simulated opponents," Dr. Chen pointed out. "Doesn't matter. The point is, I could do it. Before, I was good. Now She searched for the word. I'm something else. Sophia? Victoria asked. Still integrating. The neural modifications are more complex for her. Her brain is being connected to quantum processing cores. When she wakes up, she'll be able to think faster than any computer we have. They let Victoria rest for another day while her body finished adjusting. During that time, she learned what her new abilities really meant. She could interface with any computer system just by being near it. She could process tactical data at incredible speeds, running battle simulations in her head that would have taken hours before. She could control multiple drones simultaneously while also coordinating troop movements and analyzing enemy patterns. But there were downsides too. She needed to eat constantly, her enhanced metabolism burning through calories like fire through paper. She needed special nutrient packs that fed the nanites in her blood, and she needed to sleep less, which sounded good until she realized it meant more time being awake with memories of her execution playing through her enhanced recall. She could remember every detail of dying, the plasma bolts hitting her, the feeling of her heart stopping, the darkness closing in. The nanites had recorded everything, and now she couldn't forget it no matter how hard she tried. Is it worth it? She asked Dr. Chen during one of the physical therapy sessions. Her cousin looked at her for a long moment. Only you can answer that, Victoria. We gave you the tools to fight. What you do with them is your choice. Sophia Volkov woke up on the 5th day. Victoria and Amara were there when her eyes opened. For a moment, Sophia just stared at the ceiling, not moving, not speaking. Then she blinked and looked at them. I can see the network, she said quietly. Every computer in this facility. I can see the data flowing through them. I can see the communication satellites above us. I can see... She stopped, overwhelmed. I can see too much. It took Sophia 3 days to learn how to filter the flood of information her enhanced brain was receiving. Once she did, she became perhaps the most changed of the three. She could hack any system just by thinking about it. She could predict human behavior with frightening accuracy. She could craft psychological operations that would make enemy commanders doubt their own minds. When the three of them finally stood together in the training facility, fully recovered and fully operational, Dr. Chen briefed them on their situation. As far as the galaxy knows, you're dead. We've told no one about Lazarus, not even most of human military command. Right now, maybe 20 people in the entire human race know you're alive. Let's keep it that way, Victoria said. We're more useful as ghosts. Agreed, Sophia said. Dead heroes can do things living generals can't. We don't have to follow rules anymore. We don't have to worry about politics or public opinion. We can fight the way we need to fight. Amara cracked her knuckles, a sound like breaking wood. When do we start? Soon, Dr. Chen said. But first you need to understand what you've become. You're not human anymore. Not entirely. Your bodies will heal from almost any wound given time. You'll age much slower than normal people. You're stronger, faster, smarter than any baseline human. But we're dying, Sophia finished. She had accessed her own medical files through the facility's computers. The enhancements are burning us out from the inside. The nanites are constantly repairing damage, but they can't keep up forever. We have maybe 5 years before our bodies can't sustain the modifications anymore. Maybe less, Dr. Chen admitted. We don't know. You're the first successful subjects. You might have 5 years. You might have 2. Every time you push your abilities to their limits, you shorten that time. 5 years to win a war that's lasted 15, Victoria said. I'll take those odds. They spent 2 weeks training, learning to use their new abilities, learning to work together as a team again. But they were different now. Before, they had been 3 talented generals working together. Now they were something more. They could link their neural systems, sharing thoughts and data in real time. When they fought, they moved like parts of a single organism. Finally, the day came to leave the facility. They stood in the hangar bay, looking at the small stealth ship that would take them back to the war. Last chance to back out, Dr. Chen said. You could stay here. Let others fight. You've given enough. Victoria shook her head. We didn't come back from the dead to sit in a lab. We came back to finish what we started. The Calixians think they broke us by killing us, Amara added. Time to show them they just made us angrier. Sophia smiled her cold, analytical smile. They wanted to kill hope. Instead, they created something much more dangerous. They created vengeance with the ability to act on it. They boarded the ship. As it lifted off, heading toward the war zone, Victoria accessed the ship's communications and started reviewing reports from the front lines. What she saw made her enhanced heart beat faster. The Calixian Empire had taken 12 human colonies in the 3 weeks since the execution. They had killed millions. They were getting confident, pushing deeper into human territory, sure that humanity's will to fight was broken. They're making a mistake, she said aloud. They're overextending. Look at these supply lines. Look at how spread out their forces are. They think they've already won. Then let's teach them they're wrong, Amara said. She was checking her weapons, enhanced reflexes making her movements almost too fast to follow. Sophia was quiet, her eyes distant as she accessed information through the quantum processors in her brain. I've been analyzing Calixian psychology. They're a warrior culture, but they're also deeply superstitious. They believe in omens, in the power of fear, in ghosts that hunt the guilty. So, Victoria asked. So we become their ghost story, Sophia said. We become the thing that hunts them in the dark. We make them afraid, not just of dying, but of having died and still having to face us. Victoria understood. They executed us in public, made a show of it. The whole galaxy watched us die, and the whole galaxy will watch us come back, Amara finished, not as generals, as something worse, as proof that humanity doesn't stay dead. The ship jumped to hyperspace, leaving Earth's moon behind. The 3 women sat in silence for a moment, each lost in their own thoughts. Do you think we're still human? Amara asked quietly. After all this? Victoria looked at her hands again, enhanced, modified, filled with technology that kept her alive and made her deadly. She thought about the question, really thought about it with her enhanced brain processing it from every angle. I don't know, she admitted. Maybe we're something new, something that's still human where it counts but different enough to win this war. Does it matter? It matters to me, Amara said. I want to know what I am. You're a weapon, Sophia said, not unkindly, just stating a fact. We all are. We chose to become weapons because humanity needed weapons. When the war is over, if we survive, then we can figure out if we can be human again. And if we can't, Amara pressed, then we die as weapons, Victoria said, which is still better than humanity dying as victims. The ship dropped out of hyperspace near the border zone, where human and Calixian forces were constantly skirmishing. Victoria immediately began scanning tactical networks, her enhanced brain processing information from hundreds of sources at once. There, she said, highlighting a Calixian supply convoy on the tactical display. 3 freighters carrying ammunition and food to their forward bases. Light escort. They're not expecting trouble this deep in territory they control. They're not expecting ghosts, Amara said, checking her weapons one more time. Then let's haunt them, Sophia said. The ship moved silently through space, its stealth systems making it nearly invisible. As they approached the Calixian convoy, Victoria felt something she hadn't felt since before her execution. Not fear, not even excitement. Something colder, harder. The hunger Amara had mentioned earlier. The hunger to make the Empire pay for every human life it had taken. Remember, she said to her 2 companions, we're not here to just destroy these ships. We're here to send a message. We're here to make them doubt. We're here to make them afraid. One convoy at a time, Amara agreed. One nightmare at a time, Sophia added. The ship's weapons powered up. Victoria's hands moved across the controls, but she was also in the computer, feeling the ship's systems like they were extensions of her own body. This was what they had become. This was what humanity had bought with their deaths and their resurrection. 3 women who had been generals, 3 weapons who had been human, 3 ghosts who had come back hungry for revenge. The Calixian Empire had no idea what was coming for them, but they were about to learn. They were about to learn that when you kill humanity's champions, you don't get peace. You get something much, much worse. You get them back, and they always come back hungry. 6 months had passed since the execution, and the Calixian Empire was bleeding from 1,000 cuts. Commander Thexelar of the Imperial Fleet sat in his office on the occupied world of New Gibraltar, staring at casualty reports that made no sense. Supply convoys were disappearing. Forward operating bases were being destroyed. Entire platoons were vanishing without a trace. The losses weren't huge by themselves. A convoy here, a base there, but they were constant, relentless, and worst of all, they showed a level of tactical knowledge that shouldn't be possible. It was as if someone knew exactly where to strike, to cause maximum damage with minimum force. "It's just rebel activity," his second-in-command said, trying to sound confident. "Scattered human resistance, nothing organized." But Thexelar wasn't so sure. He had been fighting humans for 10 years, and he knew their patterns. This was different. This was surgical, professional. This was how the 3 generals used to fight before the Empress had them killed. He pushed that thought away. The generals were dead. He had watched them die himself. Everyone had watched them die. What he didn't know was that the ghost stories his soldiers were starting to tell around their camps were closer to the truth than anyone realized. 300 light-years away, General Victoria Chen was proving that death had made her better at her job, not worse. She sat in the command center of a captured Calixian frigate. Her eyes closed. Her consciousness spread across 15 different computer systems simultaneously. She could see every ship in the sector, every communication, every movement of supplies and troops. Her enhanced brain processed it all in real time, building a 3-dimensional map of the entire theater of war in her mind. "Target identified," she said, her voice calm. "Fuel depot on Kepler 452C, 13 light escorts, supply run scheduled for tomorrow at 600 station time." Around her, the human resistance fighters she had gathered looked at her with a mixture of awe and fear. They had been told only that she was a special operations commander. They didn't know who she really was. They didn't know that the woman giving them orders had been executed on live broadcast 6 months ago. "That's deep in Calixian territory," one of the fighters said. "How do we even get there without being detected?" Victoria opened her eyes. They glowed faintly blue in the dim light, a side effect of the neural enhancements. "I'll handle their sensor grid. You just follow the route I give you. Trust me." She said it like it was simple because, to her enhanced mind, it was. She could see the patterns in their security, the gaps in their coverage. She could predict patrol routes 3 days in advance. She had become a living tactical computer, and the Calixians had no defense against that. The attack on the fuel depot went perfectly. Victoria scrambled their sensors and communications while the fighters struck hard and fast. The depot exploded in a ball of flame that could be seen from orbit. 13 escorts became 13 pieces of debris. The entire operation took 11 minutes, but before they left, Victoria did something she had been doing at every target. She let herself be seen by one of the security cameras. Just for a second, just long enough for her face to be captured and recorded, the face of a dead woman. On the other side of Calixian space, General Amara Okonkwo was fighting a very different kind of war. She stood on a mountain ridge on the mining world of Veritas, looking down at the Calixian base in the valley below. 200 human fighters crouched in the rocks around her, waiting for her signal. Down below, 10,000 Calixian soldiers patrolled the base, confident in their overwhelming numbers. "This is insane," whispered one of the resistance leaders, a woman named Sarah Park. "We can't take that base, they'll slaughter us." Amara smiled, and it was not a kind smile. Watch and learn. She had spent 3 days preparing for this. 3 days of psychological warfare, of ghost stories, of making the Calixians in that base paranoid and afraid. She had used her enhanced abilities to infiltrate their perimeter dozens of times, leaving behind evidence of her presence. Weapons mysteriously moved. Guards found unconscious with no memory of what happened. Messages scrawled on walls in the Calixian language. The dead remember. Now the Calixians were jumpy, shooting at shadows, doubting each other. Their cohesion was breaking down, and Amara was about to push them over the edge. She tapped into the communication system Sophia had given her. A quantum encrypted link that let the three generals coordinate across any distance. Sophia, you ready? In position. Sophia's voice came back instantly. Their communication network is mine. Give me the word. Victoria? Standing by. Victoria replied. She was half a sector away, but through their neural link she might as well have been standing next to them. I'll cut their reinforcements off. They won't get any help. Amara looked at her fighters. These were ordinary humans, brave but fragile compared to what she had become. She would try to protect them, try to make sure most of them went home. But the mission came first. That was what they had all agreed to when they came back from death. The mission always came first. Execute, she said. Sophia struck first, though no one in the valley could see it. She was on a ship in orbit, but her consciousness was inside the base's computer system. She made every speaker in the base scream with static. She made the lights flicker and die. She made the automated defenses turn on the Calixian soldiers themselves. Then she broadcast a message on every screen, every speaker, in the base. It was footage from the execution, the three generals being shot, falling. But then the footage glitched, corrupted, showing images that weren't possible. The generals standing up, walking through fire, reaching out of the screen. We died. Sophia's voice echoed through the base, distorted and terrible. But we didn't stay dead, and we remember every single one of you who watched. Chaos erupted in the valley below. Soldiers were shooting at shadows, running from their own fear. The automated defenses were cutting down anyone who moved. And into that chaos, Amara led her 200 fighters. She moved faster than human eyes could track. Her enhanced reflexes made her seem to teleport from place to place. She was in the middle of a squad of Calixian soldiers before they even knew she was there. They died before they could raise their weapons. She fought with a fury that was barely controlled, enhanced muscles moving with perfect efficiency. Every movement was calculated for maximum effect. Every shot she fired found its target. She was a weapon designed and built for this exact purpose. The 200 fighters followed in her wake, striking at soldiers who were already terrified and disorganized. What should have been a slaughter of humans became a massacre of Calixians. Within an hour, the base was taken. Within 2 hours, every prisoner was freed and loaded onto transport ships. But before they left, Amara stood in the main courtyard where everyone could see her, where every surviving security camera could record her. She pulled off her helmet, letting her face be seen clearly, a face that was supposed to be dead, a face that had been shot by a firing squad 6 months ago. She looked directly at the nearest camera and smiled. Tell your Empress that we're not done. Tell her that killing us was the biggest mistake she ever made. Tell her that we're coming. Then she was gone, vanishing into the transport ship before Calixian reinforcements could arrive. The footage of Amara in that courtyard went viral within hours. It spread through Calixian military networks, then to civilian populations, then to other alien species across the galaxy. Everyone had seen the execution. Everyone knew the three generals were dead. And now, everyone was seeing them alive. On the Calixian throne world, Empress Zalthara watched the footage for the 20th time. Her hands gripped the arms of her throne so hard the crystal cracked. Explain this, she demanded. Her military advisors stood before her, terrified. No one wanted to be the one to tell the Empress that she had been deceived. It could be clones, one advisor suggested, or actors, some kind of human deception. Clones don't fight like that, another advisor said, pointing at footage of Amara moving at impossible speeds. Actors don't hack our systems from orbit like this Victoria Chen is doing. These are the real generals, somehow alive. I watched them die, the Empress roared. I watched their hearts stop. How can they be alive? No one had an answer. which made it even worse. Because if the generals were somehow alive, then everything the Calixians thought they knew about humans was wrong. Dead humans were supposed to stay dead. That was how the universe worked. Except now it didn't. Find them, the Empress commanded. I want 500 ships dedicated to hunting these 3 humans. I want them found and killed again, and this time, I want their bodies burned to ash and scattered across a sun. But finding the 3 generals proved impossible. They were ghosts, appearing and disappearing across dozens of star systems. Victoria would hit a target in one sector while Amara struck in another sector 1,000 light-years away, and Sophia was somehow in both places at once through the computer networks. The Calixian military started calling them the Returned. Soldiers whispered their names in fear. Officers doubted their orders, wondering if their communications had been compromised by Victoria's hacking. Supply convoys refused to travel certain routes where Amara had been seen. The psychological damage was worse than the physical damage. The Calixians were a warrior race, but even warriors could be broken by fear. And the fear of enemies who refused to stay dead was a powerful thing. Meanwhile, in human space, morale was soaring. The 3 generals had become legends, bigger in death than they had ever been in life. Now that they were back, humanity fought with renewed fury. Recruitment was at an all-time high. Even civilian populations were contributing, building ships and weapons, supporting the war effort however they could. The tide of the war was starting to turn. 3 months after the first sighting, the 3 generals finally reunited in person. They met on a secret human base in a secure room where they could talk without being overheard. They looked different than they had before the resurrection. Harder, more dangerous. The enhancements had changed not just their bodies, but something in their eyes. They had looked into death and come back, and it showed. The Empress has dedicated half her fleet to hunting us, Victoria reported. She was accessing data from a dozen sources as she spoke. 500 warships looking for 3 people. Good, Sophia said. That's 500 ships not fighting our regular forces. Every ship hunting us is a ship that's not taking colonies or killing civilians. The psychological warfare is working better than I hoped, Sophia continued. I've been monitoring Calixian communications. Their soldiers are terrified. Some are deserting. Others are requesting transfers away from sectors where we've been active. Then it's time to take it further, Amara said. We've been hitting small targets, building the legend. Now we hit something big, something that shows we're not just harassing them. We're actually winning. Victoria pulled up a tactical display. I've been analyzing their supply network. Everything flows through a central hub station called Fortress Secundus. It's massive, heavily defended, supposedly impregnable. They send supplies from there to every front line. If we take it out, Sophia said, understanding, we cripple their entire logistics network in this sector. And we show them that nothing is safe, Amara added. Not even their impregnable fortress. They spent 3 days planning the operation. It would be their most ambitious attack yet, requiring all 3 of them to work together in perfect synchronization. Fortress. Secundus was a space station the size of a small moon, orbiting a gas giant. It had shields that could withstand bombardment from a fleet. It had automated defenses that could track and destroy thousands of targets simultaneously. It had a garrison of 50,000 Calixian soldiers. It had never been successfully attacked in its 200 years of operation. How do we even get inside? One of the human officers asked as they briefed the assault team. We walk in the front door, Victoria said simply. She had spent 2 weeks mapping every system in the fortress. She knew its security protocols better than the Calixians who built it. She had found the weaknesses, the gaps, the places where human cunning could overcome Calixian strength. I'll shut down their defenses, Victoria explained. Sophia will take over their communication systems and create chaos. Amara will lead the ground assault. We'll have a window of maybe 30 minutes before they can respond. In that time, we need to destroy the station's power core and escape. 30 minutes, Amara said. That's plenty of time. The attack happened 3 days later. A small human fleet jumped into the system, drawing the attention of the Calixian defenders. While they were focused on the incoming threat, a single stealth ship slipped through their perimeter. Victoria sat in that ship, her consciousness spread across the fortress's computer network. She could see everything, control everything. She made the automated defenses see friendly ships where the human fleet was. She made the shields lower for just 3 seconds, long enough for the assault transports to slip through. Sophia spoke on every communication channel in the fortress at once. Her voice was everywhere, coming from every speaker, every screen. She showed them footage of the execution, interspersed with footage of the 3 generals alive and fighting. She showed them every defeat the Calixians had suffered in the last 6 months. She showed them fear. "You thought you could kill us," Sophia's voice echoed through the station. "You thought you could break humanity, but we are still here. We will always be here, and we remember." The Calixian soldiers in the fortress didn't know which way to shoot. Their officers were screaming contradictory orders. Their systems were telling them that there were no intruders, even as explosions started rocking the lower levels. Amara led 500 fighters through the chaos like a spear through flesh. Her enhanced abilities let her see threats before they appeared, react before enemies could fire. She moved through corridors at superhuman speed, her weapons never missing, her tactical sense perfect. The human fighters followed her, fierce and determined. They knew who she was now. Word had spread through the resistance. They were being led by one of the 3 generals back from the dead, nearly invincible. They fought their way to the station's power core in 23 minutes. Amara placed the charges herself, her enhanced precision making sure they would cause maximum damage. "All teams, this is General Okonkwo," she broadcast on an open channel that she knew the Calixians would hear. "We're pulling out. You have 5 minutes to evacuate before this fortress becomes a very expensive firework." 3 minutes later, the assault teams were back on their ships. 4 minutes later, they jumped to hyperspace. 5 minutes later, Fortress Secundus exploded. The power core detonation triggered a chain reaction that tore the massive station apart. 50,000 Calixian soldiers died in seconds. 200 ships that were docked there were destroyed. Supplies worth billions were turned into debris. And across the galaxy, people watched it happen on every news channel. They saw the impossible made real. They saw 3 women who were supposed to be dead strike at the heart of the Calixian Empire. On the Calixian throne world, Empress Zalthara watched the footage in silence. Then she stood and addressed her military council. "They are not ghosts," she said, her voice cold with fury and fear. "They are not spirits or legends. They are 3 humans who somehow survived and who have been given terrible power. But they are still mortal. They can still be killed." She leaned forward, her eyes burning with rage. "I want them found. I want them brought before me. And I want them to watch as I burn every human world to ash before I kill them again." But what the Empress didn't know was that the 3 generals were already planning their next move. They had spent 6 months building their legend, creating fear, turning the tide of the war. Now it was time to take it all the way. Now it was time to strike at the Empire itself. "We've got them scared," Victoria said as they reviewed the aftermath of Fortress Secundus. "Now we make them terrified." "The Empress has made this personal," Sophia observed. "She's not thinking strategically anymore. She's obsessed with us." "Good," Amara said, checking her weapons. "Obsessed enemies make mistakes. Let her come. We'll be ready." The 3 women looked at each other, and for a moment they weren't generals or weapons or ghosts. They were just 3 friends who had died together and come back together, bound by something deeper than enhancement or duty. They had become humanity's nightmare to give to the Calixians, and they were just getting started. The Battle of Sigma Station would be remembered as the day the war truly turned. Admiral Marcus Reeves stood on the bridge of the human flagship Defiance, watching the tactical display with growing dread. 300 Calixian warships were bearing down on his position. He had 80 ships, mostly converted civilian vessels with weapons strapped to their hulls. It was supposed to be a holding action, buying time for evacuations in 3 nearby colonies. It was supposed to be a heroic last stand. Then General Victoria Chen's voice came through on his private channel. "Admiral Reeves, this is Victoria. I'm here to help." Reeves felt his heart skip. Everyone in the military knew the stories. The 3 dead generals who had come back as weapons, the ghosts who haunted the collections in their nightmares. But hearing her voice directly was something else entirely. "General Chen," he said, trying to keep his voice steady. "I thought you were dead." "I got better," she replied, and he could hear the slight smile in her voice. "Now listen carefully. I'm about to link into your fleet's computer systems. Don't fight it. This is going to feel very strange." Before Reeves could respond, he felt it. A presence in the ship's computers. Not invasive or hostile, but definitely there. Then his tactical display changed. Suddenly he could see things he couldn't see before. Enemy firing solutions before they were calculated. Predicted movement patterns. Weak points in the Calixian formation. "I'm in every ship in your fleet now," Victoria's voice said. "Every weapon, every engine, every sensor. We're not 80 separate ships anymore, Admiral. We're one organism with 80 bodies. And I'm the brain." The Calixian fleet opened fire. 300 ships launching thousands of missiles and energy beams. It should have been the end of Reeves's fleet. Instead, every human ship moved at exactly the right moment. They wove between the attacks like they were dancing. Each movement perfectly timed. Return fire lanced out. Not randomly, but with surgical precision, hitting weak spots that shouldn't have been known. Reeves watched in awe as his fleet fought like nothing he had ever seen. Ships that had never worked together before moved in. Perfect synchronization. Damaged vessels fell back while fresh ones moved forward. It was like watching a master conductor leading an orchestra. "How are you doing this?" he asked. "Enhanced neural processing," Victoria replied. Her voice was calm, but he could hear the strain underneath. "I can see 53 seconds into the future of this battle. I'm running 17,000 combat simulations simultaneously. I know where every Calixian ship will be before they do, but it's burning me out. I can keep this up for maybe an hour. Will an hour be enough? Watch and see." She was right. An hour was enough. The Calixian fleet, expecting an easy victory, found itself being carved apart by impossible tactics. Human ships appeared where they shouldn't be. Attacks came from angles that shouldn't have been possible. By the time the Calixian admiral realized he was being outmaneuvered by a single human mind, controlling an entire fleet, it was too late. The Calixians broke and ran. Of their 300 ships, only 90 escaped. The human fleet lost 11 ships. It was the first major victory in open combat that humanity had achieved in years. On another front, 3 systems away, General Amara Okonkwo was teaching the Calixians that numbers meant nothing against perfect execution. The planet Kepler 442b had been under Calixian occupation for 3 years. It had mineral wealth that the Empire needed, and a human population of 2 million that the Empire treated as slave labor. The Calixian garrison numbered 100,000 soldiers, supported by orbital defenses and automated weapons. Amara, attacked with 2,000 fighters. She moved at night, but night meant nothing to her enhanced vision. She could see in complete darkness. She could hear a heartbeat from 50 meters away. She could smell the chemicals in Calixian sweat that told her when they were afraid. And they were all very, very afraid. She had spent a week preparing, building the legend. Ghost stories spread through the garrison. Soldiers found their comrades, dead with no sign of what killed them. Weapons disappeared, supplies were poisoned. Every day the Calixians grew more paranoid, more ready to jump at shadows. Now Amara gave them something real to fear. She led her 2,000 fighters in a simultaneous assault on 20 different locations. But she made it seem like there were 20,000 fighters. Her enhanced reflexes let her be in 3 places in 5 minutes. She moved so fast that Calixian soldiers swore they were fighting an army when it was just her. Her fighters followed the paths she cleared, striking at confused and demoralized enemies. Calixian officers tried to rally their troops, but their communications were compromised. Sophia was in their network, feeding false orders, creating chaos. The battle lasted 3 hours. When it was over, the Calixian garrison had surrendered. 100,000 soldiers defeated by 2,000, because one woman had become something more than human. Amara stood in the central square of the main city as the sun rose. Human civilians emerged from their homes, cautious at first. Then, with growing joy as they realized they were free. Children ran to the resistance fighters. Parents wept with relief. An old woman approached Amara, looking at her with wise eyes. "You're one of them," she said softly. "One of the 3 generals who came back." Amara nodded. "I am. They say you're not human anymore, that you sold your soul to come back from death." Amara looked at the celebrating civilians, the freed slaves, the children who wouldn't grow up under Calixian oppression. "Maybe I did," she said. "If that's what it takes to free worlds like this, then I'd sell it again." The old woman smiled. "Then you're more human than you think, General, because only a human would sacrifice everything for others. But not every battle was a victory, and the cost of the enhancements was becoming clearer with each fight." On the human medical ship Asclepius, Dr. Sarah Chen examined her cousin with growing concern. Victoria had been pushing her abilities harder than ever, and it showed. Her skin had a grayish tint. Her eyes, which had glowed blue with energy, were now dimmer. The nanites in her blood were working overtime to keep her alive, but they were fighting a losing battle. "You're burning out," Dr. Chen said bluntly. "Another battle like Sigma Station and your neural pathways will start to degrade. Your brain is processing more information than any human brain was meant to handle. How long do I have?" Victoria asked. "Maybe a year. Maybe less if you keep pushing. The enhancements are consuming you from the inside." "And the others?" Dr. Chen pulled up medical readouts for Amara and Sophia. Amara's muscular system is breaking down. Every time she uses her enhanced reflexes, she's causing micro-tears in her muscle tissue faster than the nanites can repair them. Sophia's brain is literally burning out from the quantum processing load. She's having seizures now when she disconnects from computer systems. Victoria looked at the data for a long moment. Then she shrugged. "We knew this going in. We have maybe a year or 2 left. That's enough time to win the war." "Is it worth it?" Dr. Chen asked. "Dying again slowly this time, for a war that might outlast you?" Victoria met her cousin's eyes. "We already died once for this war. At least this time we get to see how it ends." The 3 generals met in person 2 days later on a neutral station. They looked at each other and saw the same truth reflected back. They were dying. Slowly but surely, the price of their power was coming due. "We need to end this fast," Sophia said. She was pale and her hands trembled slightly. "The longer we fight, the less effective we'll become. We need to strike at the heart of the Empire while we still can." "The throne world," Amara said. "Calixa Prime. That's where the Empress is. That's where the real power sits." "It's suicide," Victoria said. But she was smiling. "It's got planetary shields, orbital fortresses, a standing army of 1 million soldiers. We'd be 3 people against an entire world." "We've faced worse odds," Amara countered. "Have we?" Sophia asked. Then she laughed, a sound that was slightly unhinged. The quantum processing was affecting her mind, making her see connections that weren't there, patterns in chaos. "Actually, you're right. This is just stupidly impossible instead of completely impossible. The Empress has become obsessed with us," Victoria said, pulling up intelligence reports. "She's making mistakes, pulling resources away from important sectors to hunt us. If we can draw her attention completely, make her focus everything on Calixa Prime, we might be able to end this." "How?" Amara asked. Sophia smiled her cold smile. "We tell her we're coming. We broadcast it to the entire galaxy. We challenge her directly. She won't be able to resist, her pride won't let her." "And then what?" Amara pressed. "We can't win a direct assault on the throne world." "No," Victoria agreed. "But we don't need to win. We just need to make her think we're trying to win, while we do something else entirely." She pulled up a schematic of Calixa Prime. At its center was the Imperial Palace. Beneath the palace was something few people knew about, the Master Control, node for the entire Calixian military network. Every ship, every base, every weapon in the Empire was connected to that node. If I can get to that node, Victoria said, I can access the entire Calixian military system. Every ship, every weapon, everything. I can shut it all down. Getting to it means fighting through 1 million soldiers, Amara pointed out. That's what I'm good at, Victoria said. Besides, they'll be focused on you two. You'll be the distraction. They spent 3 days preparing. 3 days of planning what might be their last mission. They recorded messages for humanity just in case. Victoria wrote to her sister. Amara wrote to her daughter. Sophia wrote to the scientists who had created Project Lazarus, thanking them for giving her the chance to make a difference. Then they made their announcement. They broadcast on every channel, every frequency, to every world in the galaxy. Empress, Zalthara, Victoria's voice rang out across the stars. You executed us to break humanity's spirit. It didn't work. You hunted us to restore your pride. That didn't work either. Now we're coming for you. We're coming to Calixa Prime. We're going to end this war the way it should have ended a long time ago. Wait for us. The galaxy held its breath. On Calixa Prime, Empress Zalthara watched the broadcast with a mixture of rage and anticipation. Finally, the 3 humans who had haunted her would come to her, on her world, where she had every advantage. Let them come, she announced to her council. Prepare every defense. I want 1 million soldiers ready. I want the orbital fortresses armed and waiting. When the 3 generals arrive, I want them to see the full might of the Empire arrayed against them, and then I want them dead, truly dead, so dead that not even their own scientists can bring them back. She smiled, showing her knife-like teeth. They think they're walking into my throne room. They're walking into their graves. But what the Empress didn't know was that graves didn't scare the 3 generals anymore. They had already been in graves. They had climbed out once, and they were willing to go back in if it meant humanity would be free. 3 days later, a single human ship jumped into the Calixa Prime system. It was small, unarmored, completely outmatched by the defenses arrayed against it. The 3 generals were on board, ready for the final battle, ready to prove that what you try to kill only comes back stronger, ready to show the Empress that executing them was the biggest mistake in the Empire's 10,000-year history. Victoria Chen sat at the controls, her enhanced senses taking in every detail of the system's defenses. This is insane, she said. Completely. Amara agreed, checking her weapons one last time. Utterly suicidal, Sophia added, her eyes distant as she began infiltrating Calixian systems. They looked at each other and grinned. They had become weapons. They had become ghosts. They had become the nightmare that the Empire feared. Now it was time to finish it. Here we go, Victoria said, and aimed their ship at the heart of the Empire. The orbital fortresses opened fire, 1,000 cannons launching death at one small ship. The final battle had begun. And win or lose, live or die, the 3 generals would make sure the galaxy never forgot what happened when you thought humanity would just lie down and die. They had tried killing humanity's champions. Now humanity's champions were coming to return the favor, and they were still very, very hungry. The ship died 3 minutes into the battle. A direct hit from an orbital fortress tore through the hull, venting atmosphere and destroying the engines. The small vessel tumbled through space, trailing debris and fire, looking like just another piece of wreckage in the graveyard that surrounded Calixa Prime. On the Calixian command ship, the weapons officer reported to Empress Zalthara. Direct hit confirmed. The human vessel is destroyed. No life signs detected. The Empress leaned forward in her throne, studying the debris field on the display. Show me the bodies. I want visual confirmation. There are no bodies, Empress. The explosion must have vaporized them. Zalthara's eyes narrowed. Scan that debris again, use every sensor we have. But by the time they realized their mistake, it was already too late. The 3 generals hadn't been in the ship when it was destroyed. They had ejected in separate escape pods 3 seconds before impact, each pod coated with stealth technology that made them invisible to Calixian sensors. The pods screamed through the atmosphere at impossible speeds, burning through the sky like meteors. Victoria's pod crashed in the industrial sector of the capital city. She emerged from the wreckage, her enhanced body already healing from the impact injuries that would have killed a normal human. Around her, Calixian workers stared in shock. She looked at them, her eyes glowing blue in the darkness. "You might want to run," she said. Then she started moving toward the Imperial Palace, and nothing could stop her. Amara's pod hid in the military district, right in the middle of a base housing 10,000 soldiers. She kicked the pod door open and stepped out, weapons in hand. The soldiers surrounded her immediately, calling for her to surrender. She smiled. "You first." Then she moved, and the soldiers learned what true terror was. Sophia's pod landed closest to the palace in the governmental district. She didn't bother with weapons. She didn't need them. She closed her eyes and let her consciousness expand into the city's computer network. Every screen, every camera, every communication system became hers to control. All across Calixa Prime, displays flickered to life, showing the same image. The three generals standing together, very much alive. And then Sophia's voice spoke through every speaker in the city. "You tried to kill us once, it made us stronger. Try to stop us now. We dare you." Chaos erupted across the capital. Alarms screamed, soldiers mobilized. The Empress stood from her throne, her face contorted with rage and fear. "Find them. Kill them. I don't care how many soldiers it takes." But finding them was the easy part. Stopping them was impossible. Victoria fought her way through the industrial sector like a force of nature. She was in every security system, every automated defense, every computer in the district. She turned the city's own defenses against the Calixians. Automated turrets fired on Calixian soldiers. Security doors locked, trapping reinforcements. She could see through every camera, anticipate every ambush, counter every tactic, and she was heading toward the palace, leaving a trail of disabled defenders in her wake. Amara was doing what she did best, impossible violence. The military base sent regiment after regiment against her, and she carved through them all. Her enhanced reflexes made her seem to be in 3 places at once. Her weapons never missed. Her tactical sense was perfect. A Calixian commander watched, in horror, as she took down 50 soldiers in 90 seconds. "What is she?" he whispered. His second-in-command replied, "She's what happens when you make a human angry enough to die and come back for revenge." Amara heard them through her enhanced hearing. She looked directly at the commander and smiled. "He's right, and I'm still hungry." She left the base a smoking ruin and continued toward the palace. Sophia didn't need to fight physically. She was fighting in the digital realm, and she was winning. She had infiltrated the master control node beneath the palace, the one that connected to every Calixian military system. She couldn't control it yet. It had safeguards that even her quantum-enhanced brain couldn't break through immediately. But she could distract it. She launched 1,000 digital attacks at once, probes and viruses and logic bombs, all designed to keep the security systems focused on her, while Victoria made her way underground. The Calixians threw everything they had at the 3 generals. Tank divisions, air support, elite special forces, automated war machines. Nothing worked. The 3 women had become something beyond human capability to stop. Victoria reached the palace first. She stood at the main entrance, looking up at the massive structure that had stood for thousands of years as a symbol of Calixian power. Behind her, fires burned across the city. Ahead of her, she could sense 1,000 weapons aimed at the entrance. She linked to Sophia through their neural connection. "I'm at the palace." "I'm in their network," Sophia replied. Her voice sounded strained. The quantum processing was burning her brain out faster than the nanites could repair it. "I'm holding the master control node open for you, but I can't do it much longer. You need to get down there." "Amara?" 2 minutes behind you," Amara's voice came through. "Don't wait for me, go." Victoria took a deep breath and ran into the palace. Energy beams laced the air around her. She dodged some, took hits from others, trusting her enhanced body to heal the damage. She was in the computer systems, opening doors ahead of her, closing them behind her, making it harder for pursuers to follow. She fought her way deeper into the palace, down levels that went far beneath the surface. The Calixians realized where she was going and tried to stop her, but Sophia was in their systems, creating confusion, making some of their own defenses fire on their own soldiers. Victoria reached the entrance to the master control node. It was a massive vault door, designed to withstand orbital bombardment. Behind it was the computer system that controlled the entire Calixian military. She closed her eyes and reached out with her enhanced mind. She could feel the systems beyond the door, sense the data flowing through them. She had seconds before the Calixians would breach the doors behind her and kill her. "Sophia," she said, "I need you to drop every safeguard on this door, all of them, right now. That will let them know where you are. They'll send everything. They already know. Drop the safeguards." The vault door clicked open. Victoria stepped inside and saw the master control node. It was beautiful in a terrible way, a sphere of crystal and light that contained the coordinated intelligence of millions of military systems. She could feel it humming with power, feel the connections stretching across the galaxy to every Calixian ship and base and weapon. She walked up to it and placed her hand on the surface. Her neural implants connected, and suddenly she was inside the system. She could see everything. Every ship in the Calixian fleet, every base, every weapon, all of it connected to this one point, and she could control all of it. Meanwhile, above ground, Amara had reached the throne room. She kicked the doors open and stepped inside, weapons ready. Empress Zalthara sat on her crystal throne, surrounded by her honor guard. 200 of the Empire's finest warriors armed and ready. "General Okonkwo," the Empress said, her voice cold. "You fought well, but this is where it ends. You cannot defeat 200 warriors alone." Amara looked at the guards, then back at the Empress. "I've been dead already. What do I have to be afraid of?" She moved. It was a battle that would be talked about for centuries. One enhanced human against 200 Calixian warriors. She moved, like lightning, struck like thunder. Her weapons found targets that shouldn't have been hittable. She dodged attacks that should have been impossible to see coming. The guards fell one by one, 10, 20, 50. They fought bravely, but they were fighting something that was beyond their training to handle. Amara was in pain. Every movement was tearing her enhanced muscles further, burning through the last reserves of her enhanced body. But she didn't stop. 7 minutes after the fight began, Amara stood in the middle of the throne room, breathing hard. Around her, 200 warriors lay defeated or dead, and across from her, Empress Zalthara rose from her throne, reaching for a weapon of her own. "You should have stayed dead," the Empress said. "We tried," Amara replied. "You wouldn't let us." Far below, in the master control node, Victoria was winning. She was inside the system now, her consciousness spread across the entire Calixian military network. She could see every ship, control every weapon, and she was shutting them down. Ships in orbit found their weapons wouldn't fire. Automated defenses stopped working. Communications went dark. Across Calixa Prime and across the galaxy, Calixian military systems simply stopped responding to commands. Sophia, still fighting in the digital realm, felt Victoria's presence in the network. "It's working," she said. "You're doing it." "It's killing me," Victoria replied. Her voice was strained. The neural load was too much. Her brain was literally burning out from processing this much information. "But I can hold it long enough." "Long enough for what?" "For you to finish it." Victoria fed Sophia access to the entire network. Suddenly, Sophia could see what Victoria saw. Every system, every connection, and she understood what needed to be done. "I'm going to upload myself," Sophia said. "My consciousness. Into the network. I'll become part of it. I can control it permanently, not just temporarily." "You'll die," Victoria said. "We're already dying. At least this way I die doing something that matters." Before Victoria could argue, Sophia did it. She let go of her physical body and uploaded her consciousness into the master control node. Her body, sitting in a ship in orbit, went limp, but her mind, enhanced by quantum processing, became part of something larger. She became the network. Every Calixian system in the galaxy was now controlled by a human consciousness. Every weapon, every ship, every defense, all of it answered to Sophia Volkov. "Hello, Calixa Prime." Sophia's voice came through every speaker in the city. "I'm everywhere now. I'm in every system you have, and I'm shutting everything down. Life, support systems and military bases became unreliable. Ships in orbit found themselves drifting without engine control. Automated factories stopped working. The entire infrastructure of the Calixian Empire was compromised. In the throne room, the Empress looked around in horror as every screen showed the same face, Sophia Volkov, smiling coldly. "You made us martyrs," Sophia's voice said. "Then you made us ghosts. Now I'm everywhere, and I'm still hungry for justice." The Empress looked at Amara, who was barely standing, her body held together more by willpower than by flesh at this point. "What do you want? Surrender? You've already won." "Not yet," Amara said. "We want a peace treaty. Real peace. Autonomy for all the worlds you've conquered. Reparations for the damage you've caused. And guarantees that humanity will never be threatened by the Empire again." "And if I refuse?" Sophia's voice answered through the speakers. "Then I shut down life support on every Calixian ship and station in the galaxy. I make your weapons fire on your own cities. I turn your own empire against you. You have no choice, Empress. You lost the moment you decided to execute us." Zalthara slumped back into her throne. For the first time in her 200-year reign, she looked defeated. "I accept your terms." 2 weeks later, representatives from across the galaxy gathered to watch the peace treaty signing. The Calixian Empire would be broken into smaller independent states. Conquered worlds would be freed. Humanity would be recognized as equal to any other species in the galaxy. But the three generals weren't there to see it. Victoria Chen woke up in a medical bay on the human flagship, her head pounding. Dr. Sarah Chen was sitting beside her. "Welcome back," her cousin said. "You've been unconscious for 10 days. The others?" "Amara's alive. Barely. Her enhanced muscular system completely failed. She's going to need extensive surgery and years of rehabilitation. She'll live, but she'll never fight again." "And Sophia?" Dr. A. Chen's expression was sad. "Her body is alive, but her consciousness, she's still in the network. We can't get her out. She's become part of it. She can communicate with us, but she can't come back." Victoria closed her eyes. They had won. They had saved humanity. But the cost had been terrible. Over the next months, she recovered slowly. The enhancements were removed one by one. The nanites were flushed from her system. The neural implants were disconnected. She became human again, or as human as she could be after everything she had been through. She visited Amara in her hospital room. Her friend looked smaller now, without the enhancements, without the strength that had made her seem invincible. "Was it worth it?" Amara asked. "Everything we went through?" Victoria thought about the question. She thought about the worlds they had freed, the people they had saved, the war they had ended. She thought about what they had lost, their bodies, their humanity, Sophia's physical presence. "I don't know," she said honestly, "but I'd do it again if I had to." They talked to Sophia through the computer systems. She was still there, still conscious, still herself in some ways. But she was also something else now. She was in every computer system in the former Calixian Empire, a guardian making sure the peace was kept, that the treaty was honored. "Are you okay?" Victoria asked her one day. Sophia's voice came through the speaker, and there was something strange about it, something not quite human anymore. "I'm everywhere and nowhere. I can see everything and nothing. I miss having a body. I miss eating. I miss sleeping. But I also feel things you can't imagine. I feel the flow of data across the galaxy. I feel the pulse of 1 trillion computer systems. It's beautiful and terrifying. We'll find a way to bring you back," Amara promised. "Don't," Sophia said. "I'm needed here. Someone has to make sure this peace lasts. Someone has to watch over things. It might as well be me. 10 years passed. The war became history. The Calixian Empire was gone, replaced by dozens of smaller nations, many of them now allied with humanity. The galaxy had changed, and for the better. Victoria Chen was 52 now, looking older than her years, walking with a slight limp from all the damage her enhanced body had suffered. She taught tactics at the Human Military Academy, training the next generation of officers. She lived a quiet life and tried not to think too much about the past. Amara Okonkwo was 48, living on a colony world with her daughter and her grandchildren. She walked with a cane, her body never having fully recovered from the enhancements. But she was alive, and she was at peace. Sofia Volkov was still in the network, still watching, still guiding. She was more ghost than woman now, more concept than person. But she was there, a guardian angel made of data and light. On the anniversary of the execution, the three of them always met at the war memorial on Earth. Victoria and Amara stood in the physical world, looking at the names of all those who had died in the war. Sophia's voice came through their personal communicators, disembodied but still familiar. "Another year," Victoria said. "Another year of peace," Amara added. "Another year of people who don't have to die in war," Sophia said. "That's what we bought, with our deaths and our resurrections. That's what makes it worth it." They stood in silence for a moment, three women who had been generals, then weapons, then ghosts, and finally just survivors. "Do you think they'll remember us?" Amara asked. "In 100 years, will anyone remember what we did?" "Probably not the way it really happened," Victoria said. "They'll make us into legends, heroes who couldn't be killed. They'll forget that. We were scared and tired and dying the whole time." "Let them," Sophia said. "If the legend inspires people to fight for what's right, then let them believe we were invincible. The truth is just for us." As the sun set, Victoria and Amara left the memorial. Sophia's presence faded from their communicators as she went back to watching over the galaxy she had saved. They had been executed to break humanity's spirit. Instead, they had come back to break an empire. They had died and been reborn as weapons. And when the fighting was done, they had lived long enough to become human again. Not the same humans they had been. Changed, scarred, haunted by memories of death and resurrection, but human nonetheless, with all the flaws and strengths that came with it. In the military academy, new students learned about the War of Resistance. They learned about the three generals who had been executed and somehow come back. They learned tactics and strategy, and the importance of never giving up. But what they didn't learn, what no history book could teach them, was what it felt like to die for humanity and then have to keep living with the memory of it. What it felt like to become a monster to fight monsters. What it felt like to sacrifice everything, including your own humanity, for a chance at victory. That knowledge belonged only to three women who had walked through death and come back hungry for justice, who had shown the galaxy that humanity didn't stay down, who had proved that what you try to kill only comes back stronger, angrier, and ready to make you pay for thinking it would be easy. The war was over, the peace would last. And somewhere in the vast computer networks that connected the galaxy, Sofia Volkov watched over it all, making sure that no one would ever again threaten humanity the way the Calixians had. They had been generals. They had been weapons. They had been ghosts. Now they were just the women who had saved humanity. And that was enough. The nightmare the Calixian Empire had created by executing three women had turned out to be exactly what it seemed. A nightmare that came back hungry and wouldn't stop until justice was served. And in the end, they had fed that hunger well.